This is our class's Griffin Intaglio relief press. You can see that it has a motor, so it is a motorized press, and its controls are right here, where we have a switch and then a safety button. This Griffin motorized press is almost exclusively used to print intaglio plates. So when you go to use it, it should generally be set up to print copper intaglio plates. While operating our motorized Griffin press, please be aware of different pinch points, like where the roller meets the press bed, or where the press bed runs along the edge of the press. Those are places where clothing, hair, or fingers can be pinched or grabbed. And you'll notice that we have plexiglass shields to protect people from getting too close to the roller, but always be aware. Never rest your hands on the press bed while you or someone else is running the press. Never lean against the press while someone else is using it. And always just in general be aware of it. It is a tool. It's a machine, just like a table saw. So you always want to be aware of where your hands and other limbs are in relationship to it. To set up the press to print, I initially need to drive the bed all the way out one direction of the press and set up the felts. The first thing to consider when setting up the etching press is the felts. So we use 3 felts. We use a bottom sizing catcher, which catches the sizing from the paper, which is a starch that holds the fibers of the paper together. It glues them together. We use a cushion felt, which is thick and really soft and felted. And then we use a pusher. And so the pusher is woven and less felted than the other 2 blankets. So you have thinnest, thickest, middle thickness of blanket. And the reason for that is that this blanket is really tough and takes the brunt of the pressure from the top roller, transfers it to the cushion, which then pushes the paper down into the grooves and pulls the ink out and makes your print. And then we have the sizing catcher, also called a swan skin sometimes. And what this does is this just keeps the other 2 felts from getting damaged. And you can see just from handling how inky that's gotten. This felt, it's really important that it remains soft and uninked and just nice and clean. So our motorized etching press, or intaglio press, has a hand guard here to keep you from getting your fingers or hand caught in the roller. So when you're loading the felts underneath the roller, you want to make sure that the top or the bottom felt is a little bit hanging out so that the roller can climb up the felt thickness slowly. If you have them all exactly stacked one on top of each other, the roller will literally just push the felts off the press bed. So you can see I have my pushers hanging out a little bit further, and that'll allow that roller to climb up on top of or roll up on top of the cushion, and then up on top of the sizing catcher. So I just want to kind of get it wedged under the roller. Once you have the felts wedged under the roller, make sure that they aren't hanging off the back end of the press bed where they could get torn and grabbed by the press as it feeds through the machine. If they are hanging off, it means that generally you need to move the press bed further out the direction that they're hanging from and wedge the blankets further underneath the roller. When you're setting up the felts, make sure there's nothing underneath the felts until they're engaged in the roller. So our motorized press has a button, a safety button, and then this knob here. So I'm going to press the safety button and use the lever right here, and that will tell the press to drive the bed underneath the roller. There we go. And then I can flip the felts over. Once the felts are engaged, that leaves me with the press bed to work on, set my plate that I'm going to print here. The felts are nice and tight and trapped right here, so they're nice and flat. And I would just put my plate here. And what this will do is that the pressure from the roller and the felts will push the graphite off my tracing paper sketch and onto the plate, and it'll stick to the hard ground. So I want to make sure that my drawing is face down, and you can do this with sketchbook or drawing paper. It doesn't need to be tracing paper. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to tape it down so it doesn't move when the felts go over it. So the reason I chose tracing paper is that way I could actually see how it lined up with the plate. With the sketchbook, you want to make sure that you cut it to the size of the plate. Sorry, sketchbook paper, you want to make sure you cut it to the size of the plate and set it on there. So I got my plate, my drawing to transfer. I just want a sheet of newsprint. And the felts go over it. So I have my plate, my paper, and newsprint, and then the felts are there on the press bed. And I'm just going to